Hey everyone. So I'm doing a ton of things today and my mind is all over the place. I think I'm just doing too many things. I'm writing too many things at once. I'm too excited about too many things at once and I'm not being very precise in any of it. So I remembered that I have this little video blog. So I thought, I need to get some of these thoughts out of my head. So I'm writing this piece on forgiveness. It's very personal, so it's very draining. It's a little challenging, and I pluck away at it. I've talked to a few friends about different concepts on forgiveness and getting over it, not getting over it, da 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 da, and wow, it's a big deal. It's a big struggle. Anyway, last night we watched, which I have seen before and I've read before. It's very old. This little piece that Wayne Dyer did, and I actually shared it on my Facebook this morning. It's so funny how you can see something a million times, and every time you see something new in it, you see something that hits a bell. It hits something in you that you're like, oh my God, I never thought about it that way, or whatever. Anyway, I'm trying to incorporate this into my piece, and my mind is just going and going and going. And I can't type fast enough because my mind is 16 steps ahead of where my fingers are actually typing. And then by the time I get halfway there, I forgot. And my mind, it's very frustrating. I need to learn to control my creative process in my mind so that it's a little slower. My mind works creatively a little slower. I have a very creative mind, and sometimes it feels like it's in a race with itself. Anyway, so the things that I'm trying to put into this that I think I'm just going to take out and talk about here are everything that he talks about in this piece. The piece is actually called The 5 Lessons to Live By, and it's so awesome. If you're friends with me on Facebook, the video's there. Go watch it. It's 10 minutes long, and it's what I'm going to say here is really not at all expanding too much on what he says there. But the 5 basic principles, the first are, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. It's so funny how we get caught in how we see life, and whether we're seeing life through negative eyes or positive eyes. And the statement goes, do you live in a cooperative universe or do you live in a hostile universe? And it's so true. You can tell the people out there that live in a cooperative universe because they're typically happy. There's nothing that trips them up. They go through life with mindfulness. They go through life with sort of a peace. And the opposite, the people that live in a more hostile universe, everything, no matter what, is woe is me. I'm the victim. I'm the this and I'm the that. And sure, we all fall into it. And I get it. I totally get it. I've fallen into whatever a million times in my life, but I think I'm at a place now where I'm much more aware of it and try and snap out of it before it gets too much of a hold on me. Because really, if that's the story you're telling yourself over and over and over, that is the story that will be what you manifest in your life. There's no two ways about it. The second is one that it blows my mind all the time. And I think this is because I have dealt with a pretty massive thing with forgiveness in my life. He states there are no justified resentments. And at first I was like, really, what does that mean? But it's so simple. No matter how much anger you have, how much hatred you have, there are no justified resentments. And being justified in your own world. Because ultimately, it will always harm you. You're the one holding on to it. You're the one holding on to a resentment or a piece of anger over something somebody else did. And in some cases, maybe they've not long past it, but in a lot of cases, they're long past it, and you're still holding on to it. And it's holding you back from something in your life. It's holding you back from being you, because of something somebody else did to you. That's where I got caught for years and years in not being able to look at something differently to get out of it, because I lived with a very big lack of forgiveness and a lot of anger towards the situation that I'm writing about for a good chunk of my adult life. And it wasn't until sort of my current situation that started a few years ago and my current partner that I started remembering all these things that I started learning as a teenager that I had no time for then, but that my mom had brought into my life. And I started putting pieces together and going, wait a minute, this thing that happened when I was a teenager and all through my early 20s and whatever, I need to look at this differently because there is some positive in it. You can learn more about it when I post the blog, but I snapped out of it very quickly, and all of a sudden it just changed how I felt about so many things. I was no longer hiding it. I was no longer hiding the frustration. I was willing to talk about it because I can talk about it in a positive way. I can talk about it in what it taught me. And yeah, I don't hold resentment to it. I actually look at it in a way of I used to look at it and it is a big part in who I am and how tough I am and how rigid I might be. And now I look at it and it's a huge part of how open I am, how mindful I am, how calm and non-reactive I am. And it was a total pendulum swing. Anyway, the third principle is as you think, so you shall be. I think we've all heard this a million times. The thoughts in your head are what you're going to create. And it's very simple. Some examples that I sort of think in my own life is that we have this thing about when you go to reach for something, you think of all the parts of that possibly that you don't want. And it's for some reason, it's so much harder to think of all the things you do want. And I just said last night after we watched this to my partner, I was like, you know what? From like the very, very first time we ever had coffee, I never went into this relationship going, okay, I've been in a 20-year marriage, and although I have a great relationship with my ex-husband, obviously you pull on these experiences, but I didn't go into this next relationship going, okay, I don't want this, this is what I don't want, and I definitely don't want this. I never did that. I went into every single step of it going, wow, this is what I want in my life. Wow, this is what I've always wanted. This is the direction I want to go in. This is the person I want to be and the person I want to be with. It was always very positive, and I think it just builds and builds and builds. And like Dr. Wayne Dyer says in his video, think of it as a ladder, and the top rung is 10, and you got to get there. And the minute you trip yourself up with this is what I don't want, and you start focusing on what you don't want, that is what you're going to manifest, because your attention, everything is put towards that don't. Once you kind of get it, you really get it. Anyway, number 4 is be open to everything and attached to nothing. Attachment is a huge problem for a lot of people, me included. You get attached to things and you have expectations, and it's never good. I have said to my children 1,000 times, I think I've said to my friends 1,000 times, expectations are the root of all evil. They really are. Even from something simple like someone coming home from work, and you build this expectation prior to that happening, and the second it doesn't happen, boom, you've gone over the edge. You've the whole evening's ruined. Been there, done that. Expectations with anything are just killer. To go into something with having no expectation is the best possible way to be. The thing he talks about is how in society today, we have this thing about everybody's looking to be offended. Go on friggin' Facebook and you can see that any given day. Sometimes out of pure fun, I get sucked down a rabbit hole of people being like this and me just playing around with it and responding back to them, because people honestly will be offended by anything. It's ridiculous. I don't think it's not that it's not worth talking about, but don't be offended by it. Don't look for trouble. Don't look to be offended by things. Go through your day looking not to be offended. And it's amazing how pleasant your day can be. And if something comes up, it doesn't mean you have to be open to a concept that you might not believe in or like or whatever. His response is you simply say, that's very interesting. I never considered it that way. And boom, you're done. Because you never did consider it that way. maybe you might consider it that way. I don't know. It depends on what it is. But yeah, this offendedness, the thing has got to go, because it's definitely running rampant. The last one is don't die with music still in you. And this one hits my heart because I grew up with a mom who was a musician, and my mom passed away due to Alzheimer's. And even in the last couple of years of her life, when she didn't even really know me, I would hold her hand. And my whole life, my mother, when you would to hold her hand, she was always moving. There was always a song in her head. There was always music in her mind. Her life, her breath, everything, her soul, everything was music. Everything was a beautiful place in her mind. And that's not really what he's talking about here, but it made me think of that. And I think I would like to believe that my mom, left this earth doing all that she could do. She didn't leave like maybe doing the ultimate things that some of us would have liked her to do, or behaving in the way that some of us would like her to behave in, but she did the best she could. And I think that at the end of the day, she didn't die with the music still in her. What he's speaking to more specifically is we all have a purpose. We all have this little voice in our head that says, I really want to do this. I really want to try this, like me working for myself or whatever. And there's things that hold us back. There's things that we don't even understand. Like, why can't I do this? Like, what's stopping me? And it's just, don't let that take a hold of you. Do it. Do it. If you have something you are really passionate about, you're good at, you really want to do, just give it a shot. Take a chance. If you need to make it in a little more controlled environment, write down some steps as to how you can ease yourself into it, if you can't just jump in both feet. But we can't get to the end of our life and not have done what we were most passionately driven to do. Another really personal story, and there might be some people that watch this that don't like that I'm sharing this, but it's okay. My whole life, I know my dad loved me. Like, I had a great relationship with my father. It had its ups and downs, but my dad was a pretty cool guy. But my whole life, my father just could never utter the words, I love you. You could just see it pained him. It pained him. It pained him. You could see that he wanted to say it, but for whatever reason, whether it was his own upbringing or whatever, he could never say it. And I remember years and years and years ago, we were moving away, and we were moving away for an extended period of time. And it was like, it was killing him because he just wanted to be able to say, hey kiddo, I love you. And he couldn't. And I tell my dad I loved him all the time. And he'd go, yep. And that was just his response. Anyway, I remember 2 days before my father passed away, I had just returned from an expedition in the Atacama Desert. And I was very lucky to make it back. And he said, as I was leaving the hospital, he said, I really want to hear about your trip. And I said, okay. I said, no problem. I said, we'll be back tomorrow. You'll hear all about it. And you could tell he was scared. And that's why I think he said to me, I want to hear about your trip. He was scared. I think he felt that this was it. And I said, Dad, we'll see you tomorrow, or we'll see you on Tuesday, or whatever it was. And I love you. And I could feel it. I could feel that he still in this space couldn't do it. And that probably is the story in my life that makes me the saddest, is that I think on maybe a subconscious, maybe a conscious, I don't know, level, that my dad did pass away with that music in his head still. He was never able to fully express his feelings. And that's gotta suck. I say that. I'm a person who expresses my feelings left, right, and center. So I can't imagine not living like that. Anyway, as you can see from my rambling on and screaming and yelling here, this has really, really, really got me excited. I really like venturing into the world of stuff like this. I think the statement of everyone is just doing the best they can is really actually true when you scrape it down to the nuts and bolts and you tear apart a situation. and let's say it's a situation you don't like, and you ask yourself, but what if that person really is doing the best that they can? You really look at it differently, because I don't think anyone innately wants to do harm or shitty. Of course, there's the odd situation out there that is just that. But as a whole, we all want to do our best. We all want to do better. We all want to be better. So it's, I love diving into stuff like this. I love finding out what makes people tick. I love discovering new things about myself. I mean, we have conversations almost on a daily basis of, wow, that's me. Like, wow, that really speaks to something in me. Wow, I really got to look at this a different way. And it's amazing the joy and the happiness and the freedom and everything else that it can bring to your life. I have conversations a lot about my non-reactiveness. I can react just as much as the next guy, but I generally don't. I'm not an overly kind of reacting person. When something goes wrong, I come at it relatively calmly. Especially with my children, I find that there is no sense in going off the handle. And so diving into that part of my personality, I really enjoy, because it's teaching me more and more, and it's teaching me how to have better relationships. It's teaching me how to relate better to my kids. Just recently, I'm dealing with a little thing with my 12-year-old, being a 12-year-old boy, and not once through the whole process did I raise my voice. Not once did I do anything like that. I pretty much sat there and gave him opportunity to speak. And at the start, he was zipped up like there was no tomorrow. And I know from experience, when my kids are dealing with something, step back and they'll come. They'll rise to the occasion on their own time. If I freak out at them, no, they're not going to do that. If I let them be and let them rise to the occasion, they're going to. And sure enough, it's taking longer and longer the older they get. But sure enough, he eventually came around and the truth comes out. And in another part of being calm is that I am constantly telling my children, you'll never get in trouble for telling the truth. You tell me the truth right off the bat, we'll deal with it. You lie to me and, that has to be pulled out of you or somewhere down the road, there's always going to be consequences to lying. And it's a hard lesson for them, but I think it's a good lesson for them, because I think all kids can get caught up in lying. Anyway, I am rambling now, so I just really wanted to put that out there, because wow, I can't write as fast, obviously, as I can think even faster than I'm talking right now. So it's a bit of a challenge to write it. Anyway, I just wanted to put this video out there and talk about this fabulous Dr. Wayne Dyer. I'm sure a lot of you have seen him on Facebook, because the video has been going around for quite a few years. But really, just, go. I actually might, if I can share it on my little YouTube thing here, I will. Go and watch it. Take 10 minutes and just watch it and really think of how these things affect your life and are in your life and what they mean to your life. It's pretty cool stuff. Anyway, thanks guys. I'm hopefully going to continue making some of these. I know I say that all the time and I never do, but I'm hoping that one of these days it'll stick. Anyway, have a great day. Bye.